So we've looked at unit conversions and converting from one unit to the other using dimensional analysis. But what we haven't looked at is what if you had something like the area of a circle, which is given in square centimeters, and you want to convert that into square meters. What do you do in that case? Well, as in what we've learned in dimensional analysis, you always start with what your given value, which is 2659 centimeters squared. And we're going from metric to metric, so we are going from our given unit is on the top, so it's going to go on the bottom. Our desired unit of meters is going to go on the top. And what do we go about the normal process first of finding our conversion factor, and we know that meters is our base unit, and then we have deci, and we have centime. So we know that meters is the bigger unit, so meters gets the 1 in our conversion factor. And let's see what our factor would be. 1, 2. So it's 10 squared here. So we know there is, for every 1 meter, there is 10 squared, or 100 centimeters. Now you would think, okay, now let's cancel out the centimeters here, and we're left with meters. The only problem is you can't do that because this is square centimeters here, and here this is centimeters by itself. So in order to be able to cancel out, we must square the entire thing. So this gives us, if we rewrite it, a value like so. So when you square something, you square the 1, which is 1, then you square the meters also, because remember, whatever you do to a number, you can also do it to its associated unit. So this becomes square meters. And then we do the same thing on the bottom, so 10 squared becomes 10 to the 4th, because remember, when you bring in, you just multiply the exponents together, and you also bring this into the centimeters, so it becomes centimeters squared. We bring it to the unit as well. Now you can go ahead and cancel out, because now you're speaking the same language. Square centimeters is on the top and square centimeters on the bottom, and your desired unit of square meters is on the top. And then when we get an answer for this, we end up with 0.2659 square meters. Okay, let's try another example. The average annual person crude oil consumption in the U.S. is 15,615 decimeters. What is the value in cubic inches? So it's cubic, so it means it's a unit of volume. Since we have the unit raised to a power, let's see how we go about doing this conversion. So as always, we start with our given value of 15,615 decimeters cubed, and we want to go to inches, but we don't have a direct conversion factor from decimeters to inches. We have one conversion factor that might work with us in our table, that 1 meter is equal to 39.37 inches, but that means we have to go from decimeters to meters, and then we can go to inches from there. But don't forget, now we're doing cubic decimeters to cubic meters to cubic inches. So let's see how we follow our solution map. And since decimeters is on the top, we're going to put decimeters on the bottom and meters on the top. And now remember that meters is our base unit, and that decimeters comes directly below that. So our meters is bigger, so we get the 1 goes by the meters. And let's see what our conversion factor is. It's directly 1 below, so it's by a factor of 10. So we can't cancel out our values because we have cubic decimeters on top and only decimeters on the bottom. So we must cube the whole thing. Now, we're not finished just yet because we need to go to cubic inches. So we need one more conversion factor. And we know that the meters is on the top, so meters is going to go on bottom, and inches is going to go on the top. And we know for every 1 meter, there's 39.37 inches. But again, we must cube this value in order to cancel out our units. So essentially, what you're writing when you carry this out is 1 cubic meter over 10 to the third cubic decimeters times, and don't forget that now you're cubing 39.37 as well, so you can plug that in as in your calculator and you would get something close to 61,023.38, and it's cubic inches. And then we also bring the cube to the bottom, but 1 cubed is 1, so that's over 1 cubic meter. So you see, now we can cancel out the decimeters, we can cancel out the cubic meters, and we're left with our desired unit of cubic inches. And when we go ahead and we plug this in, we end up with 9.5289 times 10 to the 5th cubic inches. And this has the correct number of significant figures because we have 5 sig figs here. So we end up with our final answer of 5 significant figures. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and give this a try and replay this video to see if you got the correct answer. Well, it seems that an automobile has a displacement, which is a measure of the size of the engine, of 289.7 cubic inches, which is a unit of volume. What is the value in cubic centimeters? So it looks like we're going from English to metric unit, so we will use a table. And in our table, we have that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So as always, we write what we're given, which is 289.7 cubic inches. And since inches is on the top, inches is going to go on the bottom, and our desired unit of centimeters is going to go on the top. And we know for every 1 inch, there's 2.54 centimeters. But we can't cancel these inches out yet because once on the top we have cubic inches, is on the bottom we just have inches. So we have to cube the entire thing. And when we do that, we end up with something like this, 16.387 cubic centimeters, because remember, we have to bring this value into our unit and to our number. And we do the same thing on the bottom here, to our unit and to our number. But 1 cubed is just 1, and then inches cubed. Now we can go ahead and cancel out the inches, and we're left with cubic centimeters. And when we plug this in, we end up with 47.33 cubic centimeters, but we're limited by 4 sig figs, so we can write our answer is 4,747 cubic centimeters. Okay, try again, and again replay the video to see if you got the correct answer. Again, we always want to start with what we're given, which is 3.25 yards or cubic yards, and we're going from cubic yards to cubic inches. So do we have a direct conversion factor from yards to inches? It doesn't seem that we do. We know that for every 1 meter, there's 39.37 inches. So, and we know that for every 1 meter, there is 1.094 yards. So we can then convert our yards to meters and then our meters to inches. But of course, it's cubic yards. We're converting it to cubic meters and then to cubic inches. So let's go ahead and carry this conversion. We know since yards is on the top, yards is going to go on the bottom, and meters is going to go on the top. For every 1 meter, there's 1.094 yards, but we can't cancel this out. We have to cube the entire thing, since we have cubic yards as in our numerator. Now we go ahead and we take it to the next level because we don't want to stop at cubic meters. We want cubic inches, but we know that for meters is on the top, so meters has to go on the bottom, and inches has to go on the top. For every 1 meter, there's 39.37 inches, and again, we have to cube the entire thing so our units can end up canceling out. So you can see that our yards here will cancel out, and our meters here will cancel out, and we are left with cubic inches. And we end up with an answer of 1.5147 times 10 to the 5th cubic inches. But we are limited by 3 sig figs here. So we're going to go ahead and round this to 1.51 times 10 to the 5th cubic inches.